Hey, Colin. How are you?
Not bad, Jack. You're going again to Ukraine to give medical training to soldiers fighting on the front lines. Why do you do this work?
Well, originally, when it all started, I was just like everybody else. I assumed just kind of watching a war that was a world away. But then I made some really close friends with a Canadian volunteer in the Hospitallers Battalion named Brandon, who helped me make it a much more close-to-home experience. And then I met some more friends over there who I now work with on my team, Oleg, an American-Ukrainian volunteer, and Felix, an Australian volunteer. And now it's impossible to look away, right? Between the family and friendships I've made with my teammates and then also the Ukrainian soldiers and the Ukrainian people that we've worked with, it's absolutely impossible to ever look away.
So can you give us any examples of what effect your training has had?
So we spent about a month. I spent 3 weeks, and the other two instructors we had at the time spent 4 weeks with the 72nd Mechanized Brigade in Pokrovsk in eastern Donbass. And near the end of our 4-week training rotation, the troops we were training were mobilized to defend Vuhledar, which is the current location of the largest tank battle in modern history. And in the first day, our troops took around 90% casualties, so 90% of the soldiers were injured. But thanks to the training they'd received in the 3 to 4 weeks prior, all the soldiers that ended up at aid stations had perfectly packed wounds, perfectly applied tourniquets, and at the end of the day, we only had one KIA, which is horrible, but absolutely incredible given the casualty rate.
Yeah. How close to the fighting do you get?
My first day in country, when Oleg picked me up, we went down to a town called Huliapola to drop off supplies to a unit from his hometown, and that was within a kilometer of the front line, so, in and around there.
Now, you mentioned some of the friendships that you've made in doing this kind of work, but I mean, you obviously have loved ones here that worry about you. What do your friends and family here, like in St. Thomas and southwestern Ontario, think of the work that you're doing there?
Well, I'm very lucky that my family's been incredibly supportive. So my mother, my stepfather, and everybody else, all my friends have been incredibly supportive of this idea from the beginning. They've always known that this is the sort of thing I've wanted to do, is to have a hand in something bigger than myself, make a difference in the world. So I think at the end of the day, it was always easier to go with it than to argue and just be supportive.
You're going again in June. What are your plans for this latest trip?
So we will be joining with the 4th Rapid Response Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine to train their soldiers on tactical medicine and combat tactics and other relevant needed information before they head to their positions within about 2 months from now, as the troops that we're currently training are freshly mobilized guys. So whatever knowledge we can impart on them will have an exponential effect.
Yeah, I'll bet. Is there, when you being over there and then being over here, it must be, I mean, they're two worlds apart, right? Is there anything that you want people here to know about what's happening there that I think most people wouldn't understand? Well,
I think one of the biggest, culture shocks for me was realizing that Ukraine is, in a lot of ways, more advanced than us. They've got a lot of systems that are ahead of us socially, and the people are really loving and together, and there's never been something in my life that has cost me so much financially and physically and emotionally, but returned so much in experience that I would never trade. Like you said, I've got family here that I love and friends that I love here, but it's hard to be home now. I've been home for about 4 months now, and it's hard to sit here, especially when the rest of my team is back in country. It's very weird to be home now when you could be making a difference,
Yeah, I can sense sort of the restlessness in your voice.
Yeah, restlessness. It's like cabin fever to the extreme.
Yeah, I'll bet. Do you ever worry about I guess the adrenaline of this stuff, the risk? I mean, once you get into it, I don't know, it almost becomes like an addiction. Do you worry about that happening?
One of my best friends, Morgan, asked me a question, I think a week ago, which was, what am I going to do after the war? And that's not something I'm realistically ready to think about. I think an addiction is very possible. I'm very addicted to working with my friends, doing something that I find to make a difference, something that's enjoyable. Waking up every day and knowing you have a purpose is something that I've never felt before in my life.
Yeah, and this war has ground on for a long time. What do you think it'll take to end this conflict?
I think we're going to see a big change in the spring when the terrain evens out. I think it's very possible that the offensive could start on May 9th, just as a way to prod Russia during their celebrations. But I think maybe at the end of this year, hopefully we reach the borders of Crimea, and then maybe next year we can end this war altogether. That would be my hope. I think that's mildly optimistic, but based on the determination that I see in Ukrainian soldiers and in their people, they're not going to give up. They're not going to stop fighting. They're going to win this. And to them, it's either victory or death, right? There's no option. Either Ukraine exists or it doesn't.
Well, I hope for everyone's sake it ends sooner rather than later, and it ends in a way that preserves the most life and freedom possible. But, Jack, good luck.
Thank you.
And you'll have to let us know how it goes, and hopefully hopefully we'll be talking again.
For sure. Yeah, I'll keep in contact with you guys when I get over there. If you want to have a chat with me and the team or whatever, we're open to whatever you guys want.
Well, that's great. And again, good luck to you. You're doing. I can just sense the purpose, the meaning in your work. Thanks for sharing it with us.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That's Jack Groot. The St. Thomas resident is going to Ukraine for a second time to help provide medic training to soldiers over there.